since she'd been so pampered and sheltered from the real world while she was growing up. Desiree worked, had what her family would consider a regular job, and made an honest living. She hadn't asked her family for anything since Tyree was born. There had been many days when she'd gone without dinner just so her son could eat and have things that other kids in their community had. It was a far cry from the lavish way she'd grown up, but that was fine with her. Anything to protect the love of her life. Desiree didn't consider herself isolated or estranged, as some of her relatives had referred to her situation. She'd become used to the fact that Tyree was her only family now. He was all the family she needed. As Tyree continued to snore in the passenger seat, Desiree stared out the car's windshield, and her mind began racing in a million directions. "Damn you, Junior," she mumbled, thinking about the call she'd received a few days ago, the call that had prompted this long drive. Desiree had been standing at her kitchen sink, preparing Tyree's dinner before heading to work, when her cell phone rang. She dusted her hands on her apron and rushed over to the phone. It was a number she hadn't recognized. "Hello?" She'd huffed, after struggling to get the phone to her ear without getting any of the remaining flour on her hands on it. Silence. "Hello?" she said a second time, her face falling into a confused frown. Yeah, Desi," her brother Junior replied awkwardly. "Junior?" she asked, not sure she had heard right. For many years she hadn't heard from her family all that regularly, and Junior hadn't called her directly in all that time. They had been close growing up, but they had grown far apart when she announced she was pregnant. Junior had probably been more disappointed in her pregnancy than her parents had at the time. Desiree closed her eyes and remembered the sting of his desertion. She shivered and bit her bottom lip as she awaited his response. "Yeah, it's me. Look, I just called to tell you," Junior said, stumbling over his words. Desiree sucked in her breath, not realizing that she was squeezing her phone so tight her knuckles had turned white. "What?" she said, almost breathlessly. "Nobody is dead," Junior said, picking up on her fear. He knew her so well. They knew each other so well. Desiree's shoulders relaxed. "Okay, then," she said, almost tapping her foot in anticipation. She was really confused by his call now. "Pop is sick. Real sick. The summer might be," Junior said, but Desiree spoke up before her brother could finish. "I'll be there," she said. "But there's one more thing," Junior continued. "He wants to be in Idlewild, at the summer home. I know that might be, for you it might be." Desiree was fine until she heard her brother say she had to meet them at their Idlewild summer home. The section of the Michigan Lake Country known as Idlewild was a historic resort community that got its start as a refuge for Black vacationers before the Jim Crow era. It held a lot of beautiful memories for a lot of people, but for Desiree, it held memories that were both beautiful and ugly. "Why?" she rasped, her voice barely above a whisper. Her brother sucked his teeth, and Desiree knew he was probably judging her already. "Because, Desi, that's what Pop wants," Junior replied flatly. Desiree snapped her lips shut, closed her eyes, squeezed her cell phone until her fingers ached, and mumbled her weak response. "Okay, Junior, I'll be there." Her entire body began to tingle the minute the words left her mouth. She hated herself right after that. She wanted to scream. "Daddy knows I don't want to go there, especially at this time of year when everyone is there." But she bit her tongue,